Hi everyone, I am Mahesh. In this video, we are going to discuss about conditional statements in Java. When we write a Java program with some lines of code, the execution starts from top to bottom, right? In some situations, we wanted to execute this piece of code only if some condition is satisfied. And this condition can be an expression which returns a boolean value, that is either true or false. Only upon that value we wanted to execute this piece of code. This is what we call it as conditional statements in Java. We have different conditional statements in Java. You can see the list here. Let us go understand one by one. So first one is if condition. The syntax of if condition is if it has some condition which is an expression which returns a boolean value. It returns either true or false. And we have some piece of code here. And this code is executed only if this condition returns true. So only if this condition is true, this piece of code gets executed, or else it will be not executed, it will be skipped. This is about if condition syntax. Next one is if else. We are done with if. Next is if else. What if this condition is false? I wanted to execute some other set of code, like if condition, fine, if this condition is true, we are going to execute this block of code. What if this condition is false? I wanted to execute another block of code. So in that case, we can use this else block to actually execute some other piece of code if this condition is false. So we wanted to take different actions if condition is true and if condition is false. So in that case, we can use if else statement. Next, if else if. In some situations, we may have more than one condition, like more than two conditions like that. So if we have one condition, either it is true or false, then we can use if else. So in some situations, we might have multiple conditions to verify. So in that case, we can use if else if. We also call this as if else if ladder. So let's see the syntax of it. If we have some condition 1, and if it is true, we are going to execute some statement here. And what if this condition is not true? So then it comes to the else if part and verifies another condition. If it matches, it executes some statement 2, and we have another else if where we have some other condition, and if this is true, this statement is going to execute, and so on. And we have one optional else block where we can have some other piece of code written here, and this is optional. So this is about if else if ladder. So you can see here at any point of time only one condition is true and it executes only one block of code here. So if this condition is true, this statement is executed and it executes this entire loop, right, or this entire block, you can say. And if this is false, then it comes and verifies this else if condition 2. So if this is true, it executes statement 2. If it is false, only then it jumps on to the next else if and verifies the another condition, and so on. And if none of these conditions matches or none of these conditions returns true, then this else block will be executed. This is about if else if. Now let us discuss about nested if. Nested if is about having if statement within another if statement. Like, say for example, I have some if statement here, and this condition, for example, it is, say for example, it is true, and we have some statement 1 here, if condition 2, statement 2, right? So you can see here, if condition 1, if this condition is true, then this statement 1 is executed, and then it actually verifies this another if statement within this if statement. So if condition 2 is also true, then only this statement 2 will be executed. So in order to execute this statement 2, both condition 1 and condition 2 has to be satisfied. Only then this will be executed. This is about having if in another if statement. So we call this as nested if. Like this we can have any number of if statements inside another if statement. This is what we call it as nested if. Next comes switch statement. So switch, the syntax of switch is switch. We write an expression here which can be either a literal or a constant, and this is of type integer or string. And integer means like a short, byte, int, long, all this can be part of this literal or constant. And even this expression can be enum or a string as well. And in switch, how it executes is, so it has something called case. It verifies the equality of these values. So this expression is a literal or a constant, right? And this expression is compared with this case values. Say for example, it verifies this expression with value 1, and if it is true, like if it is equal to this value 1, then it executes some statement. Like this we can have any number of case values. So we can have any number of values to be matched with this expression specified with this case. Like this, so on, and at last we can have some default value. So this default where we can write some statement here as well, and this is optional. So switch is all about, like, it has an expression which is a literal or constant which takes an integer or a string value, and this is verified with all these case values. If there is any match with this case values, then it executes the corresponding statement. And remember, switch is a fall through. So what does that mean is, when this expression is matched with any of these values, all the other values which are below this case, right, all those also gets executed. So in order to avoid that, we need to use a keyword called break. If we use break like this after each case statement, then what happens is, when this expression is matched with this value 1, the corresponding statement gets executed, and with this break keyword, what happens is, all the other values below this are skipped, and control exits the switch statement. So this is the use of break keyword. And you can see the switch statement is almost similar to the if else if, but there are some differences here. So if you look here, so here in if else if, only one condition will be matched here, and if any of this condition is matched, others are not verified. It is all the other else if or else block are skipped, right? But here in switch it is also same, but only when you specify break, so the other case values will be skipped. If you do not specify this break, all the other values will also be executed, all the other case values will also be executed. So this is the one difference. And another difference is, this expression always verifies the equality of this case values in switch. But in if else if, so you can write a condition. This can be an expression, like you can have some complex logic, like using logical operators or relative operators. You can have a complex logic written here. But in switch it is not so. So this expression will only verifies the equality of these values. This is another difference between switch and if else if. And the last one is ternary operator. So ternary operator, the syntax of it is, we have a condition, and if it is true, we execute the true statement, and if it is false, we execute some false statement. So what does this mean is, you can see here, this is a condition. A condition always returns a boolean value, right? If it is true, then we specify some question mark here, and after that whatever you have it, that will be executed. And if condition is false, then this part will be skipped, and whatever is specified after this colon will be executed. So this is about the ternary operator, and this is all about the conditional statement syntax. Now let us see an example on all these statements. Let us create a class. I'll name my class as conditional statements. We'll take main method and finish. So first let's see if condition. If condition. For this, I'll declare an integer variable age, some person age, and we'll assign some value as 20. If I wanted to display the age only if it is greater than 18. So for that, if we wanted to write the condition in the braces, right, within if statement. So if age greater than 18 is my condition, and I wanted to display that age is greater than 18 only if age is greater than 18. So age is greater than 18. So I wanted to print if age is greater than 18 only when age is greater than 18. You can see I assigned some value as 20. So 20 is greater than 18. So it should print age is greater than 18 now, as this condition returns true. So let us execute this now and verify. And you can see it prints age is greater than 18. Now let's make this age as 10 and let me execute it again. You can see nothing is displayed. As this condition becomes false, it doesn't enter into this loop if block. So it doesn't print anything here. So this is about the if condition. Now let us see an example on if else. And for this, let us take an example of finding if a number is an even number or odd number. So in num, so a number when divided by 2, if it leaves remainder 0, then we consider that number as even number, or else it is considered as an odd number. So this is what we wanted to find it now and display the same. Say for example, like number percentile 2. So percentile 2 is, so we call this symbol as modulus, and percentile 2 gives us the remainder. So we are going to divide the number by 2, and as we are using modulus symbol here, we are going to get the remainder when we divide this number by 2. And if the remainder is 0, that is what we are comparing here. You can see it here. This double equals to actually compares the value on the right side. So if it is written 0, 0 equal to 0 becomes true condition, and in that case we wanted to display that the number is even number. What if a number is not even number, right? So it will definitely be an odd number, right? So we don't need to mention the condition there. So if it is like if the number is even number, this condition becomes true and this gets displayed. And if it is like this condition is false, then it will definitely be a odd number. So that will actually display it in the else block. And let's actually initialize some value to number variable. So I gave 10, so it's an even number. Let's execute this now and verify. And you can clearly see it displays even number as this condition became true. Now let's make it 11. You can see it displays odd number. As this condition is false, number when 11 divided by 2, it returns the remainder as 1, and 1 is equal to 0 is verified as that condition becomes false if block is skipped and else block is executed. That's why we see odd number displayed here. This is about if else condition. Now let us see an example on if else if ladder. If else if, we call this as if else if ladder. And for this, we'll take an example of finding if a number is a positive number or negative number. So in if number, and how do we find a number is a positive number? If a number is greater than 0, we say that it's a positive number, right? I'm going to print it as positive number if the number is greater than 0. And we'll write another condition, else if. I'm not going to write else part here, as a number can either be a positive number if it is greater than 0, and if the number is less than 0, it will be a negative number. And in between positive and negative number, we have a number called 0, right? So that case also we should cover. For that, what I'm going to do here is, if number greater than 0, fine. we are going to display it as positive number, and if number is less than 0, we are going to display it as negative number. And what if a number is, neither positive nor negative? Then it should definitely be 0. So that we are going to cover in the else block. So as if you remember, like when we are discussing about if else if, so we discussed about like only one of these conditions gets matched, like either number can either be greater than 0 or less than 0, or it can e- or it can be equal to 0, right? And this else block is optional, is also uh, we actually discussed. And this we are writing here as we need, like if a number is not positive and not negative, then it will definitely be 0. So that we are using it, and we are actually using this else block to print that the number is 0. And let me assign some value here, some 20, and let's execute this. You can see it displays positive number as 20 is the greater than 0. This condition became true and it displays positive number, and it skips all the other else if or else blocks. Now let me make it as minus 20. You can see it displays negative number as minus 20 is less than 0. It verifies this condition, it returns false. So it actually verifies the second condition, that is else if number is less than 0, yes, this is true this time, and it actually displays the as negative number. Now let us verify the 0 condition. You can see if number is equal to 0, if condition becomes false, then it verifies if number less than 0, even this condition becomes false, then automatically the else part gets executed and displays it as 0. This is all about if else if. So you can have any number of else ifs like this and have any number of conditions. So if any condition matches, then the corresponding statement gets executed and the execution gets terminated. This is all about if else if ladder. Now let us see about nested if. Nested if is if statement within another if statement, right? And for this, I'll take an example of a living being. Two Boolean values I'm going to take here. Living being, and if the living being is able to think, we know it should be a human, right? So that is what we are going to cover in this example. So living being, if living being, and if condition, this is a condition, right? And this condition is a Boolean value which is true. So it enters and it will actually verify if thinking is also true. Only then it will display it as human. So in order to become human, it has to be a living being and it also has to think. Or we can also include this. This is just a living being. So when living being is true, it enters into the loop, it prints it at living being, and it verifies if thinking is true. If thinking is true, then it displays it's a human. So let us verify this now. And you can see here, living being, human, as I have Boolean values both as true. Now let us make this thinking as false. Let's execute again. So this time you can see it prints only living being. Now let's understand what happened here. So if living being is true, right? So it enters into this if statement, fine. It displays this living being, first line. It displays this, fine. Next it comes to if thinking. Thinking this time is false. So if block is executed only if the condition is true, right? This time it is false. So it didn't enter into this block. So it didn't display this as human. And here you can also print, like if you want, you can actually have else block as well for this living be for this corresponding if you want, you can have the else as well. So if living being is false, so you can just say not living being, and we can actually verify this condition as well. So you can see living being is false now, so it doesn't enter into this loop. It directly enters into this else block and prints this else part. So this is about nested if, and like this you can have any number of if blocks inside another if block. If So if this block, right, this block is within this outer block, outer if living being block, right? Like this, you can have any number of if block within another if block. This is what we call it as nested if block. Now let us understand switch statement. For this, let us take an example of string. I'll take drink. I'll write switch statement. Switch statement should have an expression, right? So we'll take drink as the expression, and it should have some case values. Case when it is a string, right? So I'm enclosing it in double quotes. It is, if it is t, I'm going to display it as drink is t. And in the same way, I wanted to have multiple conditions here, like it can either be coffee. When it is coffee, I wanted to print it as drink is coffee. And when it is some milk, we'll print it drink as milk. Like this, we can have any number of conditions here. And if none of this matches, then we can have a default value, which is optional again. And we can have something like this, invalid drink. Now I'm going to assign some value to drink. Say for example, I wanted to assign tea. Now let us execute this. So you can see, let's execute this first. You can see everything got displayed, but if you see here, drink is tea, right? And switch takes the expression as t, and it actually evaluates all these case statements for equality, and this case t matches with this drink, and it should actually display only this statement, but it actually displays all the statement because switch statement is fall through in the sense after the first match it executes all the cases whichever are below it. So in order to avoid that and to print only the corresponding match statement, we need to use a jump statement called break. This is a keyword we need to use, so that whenever the first match happens with this expression, then the execution stops there and it exits the switch block. So this is what we need to use for all the cases. Now let us see the difference. Execute it, and this time you can see drink is tea. You can also try for any coffee, something like this. See, drink is coffee. What happened here is, so this drink, this expression is coffee now. It actually verifies for the equality of any of these cases, and this, in this case, so this got matched, and this, it displays drink is coffee, and as we have break statement, it doesn't execute all the statements which are below it. We can say something like this, like some invalid one or some ABC, right? This ABC drink is not present in any of these cases, so it should print invalid drink. So it verifies with all the cases available inside the switch statement, and none of them matches, so it actually goes to this default and displays whatever we wanted to display here. So this is how a switch statement works. Here, it need not be a string. You can also have it as any integer and have your case values as integer as well. Remember that. We just took an example of string here. Now, let us discuss about the last one, ternary operator. And for this, let us take a simple example. Let's say, for example, I have a equal to 10 and b equal to 20, where we wanted to find which one is greater. And for that, we can say string some result equal to, we can just write the condition here. This is the syntax of ternary operator. This is my condition. If a is greater than b, then question mark. So if it is true, I wanted to write a is greater, or else I'll indicate it as b is greater. I wanted to print b is greater, and then finally I wanted to display the result. You can see here b is greater. So b is 20, right? Is 20 great? So 10 is 10 greater than 20? False, right? So false, it prints this statement. If it is true, it prints the statement, or it executes the statement whatever is mentioned after this question mark. Or if this condition is false, it actually executes the statement whatever is mentioned after this colon. So this question mark is used to indicate the execute the true statement, or if the condition is true, or if the condition is false, this whatever the statement or whatever the instructions are given after this colon gets executed. This is about the ternary operator. And we can even see, like, I wanted to make, I increased a to 100, so you can see if a is greater now, right? So this time 100 greater than 20, correct, right? So it is true, so this statement gets displayed. And if a equal b equal to 200, then it says b is greater. So this is a small example on ternary operator. You can even have some complex logic written within when this statement is true and if the statement is false according to a requirement. This is all about conditional statements in Java. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching.